When it comes to sellers, I think we're still seeing a lot of that misconception that the market will reward what their home used to be worth. They're still anchored in 2021, then they kind of tend to price emotionally. But buyers have changed. They're more payment sensitive. The market is no longer rewarding that aspirational pricing. We need to get sellers anchored in 2026, and then we will get to a completely balanced market.
Welcome to Momentum in Real Estate, your guide to success in the dynamic world of real estate. I'm Cory.
And I'm Kristin James. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, we're here to help you reach new heights.
Success in real estate comes from learning, growing, and serving others.
Join us as we dive into strategies for lead generation, marketing, market trends, and client relationships.
Get ready to ignite your momentum and achieve your goals in real estate.
Let's dive in and unlock your full potential.
This is Momentum in Real Estate.
Well, today's guest is Dia Morar, a dedicated real estate professional serving the dynamic Dallas-Fort Worth market. Known for her thoughtful, client-first approach, Dia is passionate about helping people navigate one of the biggest financial and emotional decisions of their lives, buying or selling a home. At Monument Realty, she's built a referral-based business rooted in trust, transparency, and results. Whether working with first-time buyers, seasoned investors, or families in transition, Dia's committed to making every experience smooth, strategic, and genuinely so. Welcome to the podcast, Dia.
Thank you, ladies. I'm excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you. So, tell us your real estate story in your own words. We'd love to hear it.
Oh, that's a great and fun question. So, my real estate story is fairly new. I started 3 years ago. I made a leap of faith from corporate America into real estate, but wasn't very much planned. It was mostly like I would like to say the wild card pool. So for the longest time, I mean, I was in corporate America, in corporate environment. I started that in my home country. Before moving here, I was working for a consulting company, and then I moved here. I, of course, started with some smaller jobs and for smaller companies, and then I got my MBA and went for a bigger company. And it was sort of a crossroad type of situation after, I don't know, 15 years in corporate America. I was kind of transitioning jobs, and I was like, man, maybe I should try this thing because, and I'll tell you why. I throughout the years I built a social media following, and just by sharing my lifestyle, how I balance motherhood, job, grad school, and I became a voice of reason in my community, or a trusted voice, not necessarily a voice of reason in my community, and I mean my Moldovans that were navigating life in the U.S. So people from my community that were out of state but considering moving to Texas would constantly reach out and ask me, Dia, where should we live in DFW? What schools do you recommend? What areas made sense? And I was answering this question so often that I literally had like a note on my computer, on my iPhone, with my Dallas recommendations by area, school districts, and lifestyle. So I just didn't have to type it all the time. So one day it clicked. I was already doing the work, but I was guiding the people. But I just didn't call it a business. So I had this moment where I was like, maybe I should try this now or never. I can always go back to corporate. That door will always exist. But I had chance to take the chance, at some point. Did I have doubts? Absolutely. But I also kind of had enough self-awareness to know that what I was bringing with me, years of experience in project management, marketing, analytics, and of course, networking, relationship building. So those skills were with me and kind of gave me the the confidence that I could do it. Also, with being Eastern European, I kind of my biggest self-critic, so I didn't give my chance to fail. Failure wasn't really an option, right? It's just a mindset I had. So that's how I got into real estate 3 years ago. June 2023 will mark my third year.
That's amazing. But give us some insight into the Dallas Fort Worth market. I think, like many markets, there's sort of this set that's happening. Tell us what kind of behaviors you're seeing from both buyers and sellers in your market.
Yeah, we've gone through a good reset the past year and a half, I want to say, which I find it healthy. I think it's good for buyers because I feel like a lot of buyers have lost hope after, what has happened in 2021 and 2022. So I think now now I know for sure, seeing what happens and how I what comes across when I deal with when I represent my buyers is they got a lot of negotiation power back, and I think that's great. We see a more balanced market, sort of more inventory, and we have a lot of new build inventory, should I say, which again, it's good for buyers. When it comes to sellers, I think we're still seeing a lot of that misconception that the market will reward what their home used to be worth. They're still anchored in 2021. They remember what their neighbors used to sell for at that time, what homes were getting at the peak of the market, and they kind of tend to price emotionally. But buyers have changed. They're more payment sensitive. I mean, rates went up, prices went up. They're more selective, and they have more options from what they did a few years ago. So I think that is great for them. The market is no longer rewarding that aspirational pricing, what what it used to do once. So it's again, I'm repeating myself. It's good for buyers, so I have a little bit of emotions, but sellers get a little bit stuck. The memory doesn't fade away easily. Emotion gets in the way. So sometimes, they get to price based on emotion, and I think that's not healthy. The market is not rewarding that anymore. So we need to get sellers anchored in 2026, and then we will get to a completely balanced market, I think.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to our market too here in Western North Carolina. And it's a fun thing to navigate, right? Like trying to educate and trying to teach people what it looks like. But also like being in a market where buyers can be picky, because there's been these situations where like the house is falling down and they're like, oh, well, I have 2% interest rate, so it's fine. We'll just, so it's good. I'm so curious about your lead generation. Like, how do you get your leads? How has that been in your 3 years? And anything that would be helpful to our listeners would be amazing.
Well, just like any agent, I think you have to have a few avenues, right? For experienced agents, for agents that have been on the market, referrals was the best one, right? I am kind of getting there with my limited experience. I am now starting to get some repeat clients, but a lot of them already start to refer me to their friends, family, and so on. Another avenue I use when it comes to buyers, I do webinars online. I will advertise them on Eventbrite and Facebook and try to get leads that way, educate them, and hopefully win their business, right? And when it comes to sellers, I will do farming. I will do basic farming starting from postcards, but also I will go, and drop flyers on on people's doorsteps. My oldest one is 11 years old, so after school, sometime, when the weather is good, he'll be going with me, and I will be working with title company, my trusted partner, in kind of getting a list of folks in my area of interest that have owned homes for more than 70 years. And I'll be targeting them. I'll have a letter. It can be in multiple forms. It can be, telling about the fact that we sold a house in the neighborhood, a success story that we've had, and that maybe we have buyers for them, or that we could help them sell should they think about it. The other thing could be, market data that we can share about the neighborhood with them. And again, see if they need our services. So quite a few things. And I've been considering maybe looking at paying for some leads. I haven't done that, but you know, we get a lot of messages and emails asking us about it, and sometimes it becomes tempting, when we have a down season. But I haven't tried that, but you never know. I'm trying to put a system in place to where I don't need to rely on those things. And I think every agent should be doing that. But we're going through different market dynamics. Even at some point, even a headline can change the course of action. So I think diversifying these avenues is important.
Yeah, we're big fans of the, inexpensive or no cost leads. And, for us that has meant really nurturing our network, our sphere of
Yeah.
influence, and just going deep in those connections and community connections. So more power to you in terms of your efforts to do that in your market. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about your webinar. It sounds like you do it specifically for buyers. Can you walk our audience through kind of, like how do you promote it? How do you set it up? What do you do with the people that attend? Do you have like a good follow-up plan? I'd love to just unpack a little bit more of that because I think that could be a really accessible tool for a lot of agents that are listening and watching to attract, new buyers.
Yeah. So, for starters, I'll be using the CRM of this company, Rico Demand, and many agents might know about them, but they're the one who teach courses on how to set up this webinars and how to use their platform because it's very automatized. So from the moment you set the online page, the date for the webinar, then it starts. There's a campaign in place, and it starts sending emails, text messages, reminders for those that sign up. There's different aspects of this. One is the CRM, setting it up and making sure that the workflow is working. And then the other part is advertising the webinar. And I do that on Facebook, Instagram. Also, I started doing that on Eventbrite. So it's fairly straightforward when it comes to Eventbrite. It's slightly easier. Meta ads, we know they're a little bit more complicated, but this company has also taught us how to become more proficient at advertising on Meta. So then, the webinar happens. We'll be advertising, getting the leads, and hopefully all the leads that sign up participate into the webinar. Of course, that doesn't always happen. But I'll have the webinar, and typically I will partner with a lender. So I'll have a portion. So during the webinar, a good portion of it, I'll be talking about the process of buying a home, the steps it takes, the cost it involves, different aspects of the transactions, and then the lender will take some 15 minutes and explain the things on his end, the different types of programs available to buyers, especially first-time home buyers, which I'm mostly targeting, and the different aspects of financing and the types of loans and so on. And then after the webinar, we're again targeting those people, communicating intensively, trying to reach out. First it's a phone call the next day, then it's a drip campaign via email and text messages. Of course, conversion rate is lower than attendance rate. So we kind of have our metrics around that. But if I want to say if 20% of those that attended are communicating with us and opening a line of communication, that's already great. So, yeah.
That's really fun. And you said you partner with your lender on that, or?
I do partner with my lender. So he's participating with me on the webinar and, talking about the financing part of the buying process. And then also he'll be sharing the cost of marketing when it comes to advertising on these platforms like Eventbrite and Meta.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay. In the last 3 years, what have you struggled with that you felt like you overcame, and I just feel like a lot of realtors right now are struggling. They're maybe getting out of it. And I just want to encourage people. So what is something that you struggled with that you're like, now, I've got this?
30 years, I gotta say 3 years. It hasn't been 30 years for me, but it's a good question. I think it's always streamlining the processes and putting them in order as far as, you got a system, an avenue through which you generate leads and bringing it to perfection. And I don't know that anyone can do that, but that's kind of, for me, as a person with a corporate background who has mastered project management and data analytics, I always strive to get it to as good, as perfect as it's possible. But we live in such a fluid world, and we practice in such a fluid industry that if it's always changing. I'll have my CRM and my emails and my templates in place, but I feel like it changes with each transaction. I have to personalize it, right? So there's always like this moving pieces. It's not, well, you can put standard practices in place. It's always going to change. It's going to be a case by case scenario because every transaction is so different, right? So that would be probably one small challenge. And then, while I've had a good business for the short career I've had in real estate, I still feel like I could do better in getting better at my lead generation practices and having a more stable, constant stream of business. So I can't say that I've reached that level. It's definitely an ongoing process.
Well, we hear you there. That's I think a lifelong journey if you sign on to be a realtor.
Yeah.
But that's the that's the forever challenge. But good for you for kind of leaning into that and see that that's your opportunities to do what you can to boost your lead generation so that you can hopefully have stability over the years. Um, one kind of last question for me is, as you think about agents who are listening who are at all stages of their career, some are brand new, some have been in the game for a while, what would you say are some steps that agents should take to both like make sure their business model is resilient to kind of handle various market shifts? How does an agent kind of set them up for resilience?
Yeah. I'm gonna say three words: consistency, discipline, and continuing education, right? I think these are keys in our industry. So, consistency comes from process and relationships come from presence. So we kind of need to do this both hand in hand. I mentioned earlier having strong systems behind the scenes, a good CRM, and one that you use on a daily basis, clear process, strong communication, defined touch points, if I may say, and a client experience that feels thoughtful for the client and predictable from start to finish. And again, systems alone don't build relationships, so you need presence as well, right? Real estate is very personal, so I never let it become impersonal. Clients still need to feel seen and guided and heard, so they know that they're working with a real person that understands what's at stake for them. So I meet with my clients throughout the process a lot. I have recap meetings with sellers and then with buyers, meet them at every milestone: inspection, measurements, meetings, general contractors if needed, walkthroughs, etc. So having a structured back end when it comes to CRM communication, but also making sure that it doesn't only feel transactional and that their expectations are met and their feelings are understood. And I think that's how you can kind of scale, but also I mentioned continuing education. I feel like we need to stay in the loop, making sure that we are continually educating ourselves about market trends, consumer behaviors, also skills. Doing that coaching, it's important. While I don't necessarily see this as a traditional sales business, more like being an advisor to my clients, it's good to continue coaching and getting those skills improved. And I also say, well, especially in the days where now with AI taking over, we need to embrace it and learn it and see what we can automatize to support the backend, the CRM, I don't know, to improve and streamline operations, those follow-ups, creating better systems, kind of allowing AI to handle the repetitive tasks, and so to free us from this tedious little task that we have to do on a daily basis. Because I feel like in the future it's not going to come to working necessarily harder but smarter, which I have yet to learn myself. And also I can't say that I have this aspect figured out, but I made it a mission to work on it. And then I guess last I would say discipline, treating this career with the same seriousness that you would treat the corporate career, bring the same structure, accountability, and discipline.
I love that. We have a mentor that says, don't organize the spice drawer, or, give your cat a manicure or pedicure.
No.
It's just funny, like we can make up all the excuses we want to like do anything, but we truly need to clock in and clock out of our job. So I love that.
In my case, my corporate background and the schedule I used to have in corporate has served me well. Like, 8 a.m. I start working, and in many cases it doesn't start and finish at 5 p.m. But I know that the day has started. I have to start working, or otherwise, I can. You can always distract yourself and do many other things, but you have to stay focused and on schedule. Of course, this job allows us the flexibility to do some other things. If you need to attend your kids' school events, and this is something that I am grateful about, but you need to stay focused, that otherwise you're going to get pulled in many directions and not going to be able to do what needs to be done.
Yep, live by that calendar, right?
Yep.
Which, speaking of calendars, I am like not a true millennial. I never feel like I am, and AI is like way above what I feel like I'm capable of. But I took my kids' calendar for their baseball, plugged it into AI, it connected to my Gmail, and just plopped in the calendar. So if you're like me and you're listening and are super like not techie, that was pretty cool to just like give that up, because it's baseball games all the way to June. We're talking in April, so it's like a lot of different times and games. So it was so neat. It even put a little baseball emoji.
It's surprising that AI can do a lot of these things. I have already been taking this masterclass course on AI that just recently hit the app. Have you heard about it? They have a ton of courses on whatever you can think of, marketing, branding. Now they just released an AI course, and
so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Totally. Me too.
everybody.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I can see how you have achieved a lot in just not even 3 years in the business, and you seem to be an agent who is actually running their business and not allowing their business to run them. And so kudos for what you've put into place, the foundation that you've laid. And I feel like our listeners are going to extract a lot of real value from this conversation. I would love for us to be able to continue it. This doesn't have to be the end of our, relationship. Cory and I love to stay in touch with agents and continue to add value to one another. So I hope that we can
Likewise. Would love to do that.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
You too. Keep on grinding.
Yes, keep on grinding happily.
Ladies, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Momentum in Real Estate. We hope you found valuable insights and strategies to propel your real estate journey forward. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates with you.
Remember, success in real estate is about continuous learning, growth, and serving others. Keep that momentum going and watch your business thrive.
Until next time, keep pushing forward and bringing your real estate dreams to life.
This is Cory Wall
And Kristin Janes signing off from Momentum in Real Estate.